Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.
This is Backstage Bay Area. Now, here's your host, Steve Roby.
Hi, everyone. This is Steve Roby, and you're listening to Backstage Bay Area, your all-access pass to the local jazz music scene. Today, we're spotlighting Bay Area trumpeter, composer, and band leader Sarah Wilson, whose new album is called Incandescence. She's doing an album release show party at the Back Room in Berkeley on Saturday, November 8th, and today we're going to dig into the music from that album. Hey, Sarah, welcome to the show.
Thanks so much for having me, Steve.
Well, it's great to have you here. You've been involved in street theater, marching band-inspired music, yay, and a lot of community arts work over the years. For listeners who are just discovering your work, what were the early steps that led you to the trumpet and composing?
I grew up in Healdsburg, and I played the trumpet in band and in school band in junior high and high school, and then quit when I was about 16. Never thought I would pick it up again. But I graduated from UC Berkeley and went off and kind of joined the circus. I went and started working with a political puppet theater company in Vermont and picked up the trumpet there. And there were players like Dave Douglas around in that scene. So there were some really great jazz players who were, part of that community. And so the music I did there was playing sort of traditional New Orleans type marching band music, and there'll be street puppets and stilt walkers. And then I joined the company and toured around the world with them. And then, was playing the trumpet a lot more, and then moved to New York City in the early 90s and started studying trumpet really intensively. And even there I had these theater contacts. So I was still doing a lot of street theater and marching bands type stuff, and then transitioned to more concert settings.
Wow. I'm sure you have some stories to tell about that experience of touring and everything. Jeez.
Yeah. It was amazing to be in your, early 20s. And, we went to Korea,
Wow,
South America. It was all up and down the Eastern Seaboard. It was incredible.
how fun. You mentioned that New Orleans and parade music are part of your DNA. It's the kind of music that moves people. Who are some of the artists, bands, or theater experiences that have really influenced your writing and your sense of rhythm?
I mean, I can talk about the people who really influenced my writing. And I was first approached by a former puppeteer colleague who said, "Hey, listen, Sarah," this was in like 1995 in New York City. And he said, "Hey, I've got this puppet gig at Lincoln Center for the Arts. You want to write music for it?"
Wow.
I said, "Sure." And so at the time, I was listening to a lot of Steve Coleman, Jerry Allen, M-Bass Collective, Dave Holland from the 70s, a lot of Cuban music, Henry Threadgill, Myra Melford. I was kind of really in the downtown New York scene at that time, which was incredibly vibrant, verse. And I didn't grow up with a jazz background. I listened to pop and rock. So I naturally was drawn to sort of groove, danceable type music that you can move your body to. And I was writing music for puppet theater. So there was that connection to moving your body. You're out moving, there's puppets moving. And so that has remained part of my music. Is you can dance to almost any of my songs, in my opinion. I'm always dancing to them. So that sort of that influence of early, with movement, writing for objects moving in space is intrinsic to my work.
All right. Well, let's talk about the new record, Incandescence. You described it as music that reflects that feeling when art lifts you into a joyful place and time seems to stand still. That's a powerful statement. What was the spark for Incandescence, and what does the title Incandescence mean to you in a musical sense?
Well, conceptually, I wrote this music at two different artist residencies, one at Jurassic Residence Artist Program in Woodside, California, and the other in Krems, Austria, at an AIR artist in residence. And there I had an idea that I wanted to write music inspired by a contemporary visual artist. I'd already done that a lot at the De Young Museum in San Francisco and been commissioned to write music for different pieces in their collection. So I came across the work within 2 days of being there went into the State Gallery of Lower Austria, and there was these paintings on the wall that looked like music to me.
Oh.
And they were the paintings of this Austrian painter, Thomas Reinhold. And I went back to my studio and I started researching him. And there were these articles about him where he was talking about this space-time continuum with his work. And what that means is he paints layers, over time. But he was, in the article, he was referencing listening to John Coltrane's music and how when he listened to Train, time appeared to stand still. And for me, that resonated so deeply because when I first started writing music for that puppet show in New York, it was like euphoria. I just felt total euphoric composing and still feel that way today. And when I perform and when I'm in that state of either composing or performing my own music, everything else evaporates. And I have no sense of space or time. Obviously, I'm leading a band and I'm counting in time, but time appears to stand still. And so for me, it's a joyful place. You're just caught up in music and transported. So this whole record reflects that concept. And Incandescence is just kind of, it's one of the title track on the CD is Incandescence, and it's like light and joy. And it felt very right for this. It's a dark time in our country, and to sort of, are there ways that we can have a little break from things and experience some joy? So it all comes from those experiences composing and.
Absolutely. And amen to that.
Yeah, right?
Yeah. So tell us who's playing on the album and how close is that to the band we'll hear live at the back room?
At our gig, you'll hear the original band members, Kasey Knudsen on alto sax. I'll be playing trumpet, Mara Fox on trombone, John Schott on guitar, Lisa Mezzacappa on bass, and Jason Levis on drums. And that's the same personnel as the record, but on the record, I had two different drummers because a couple days before we were going into the studio and the day we had a gig in Oakland, I got the call you never want to get from one of your band members who, Jason Levis, called me and said, "Sarah, I'm so sorry, but I've just been diagnosed with pneumonia." And so in 4 hours, I mean, it was an incredible experience. It was terrifying. It was like, oh my God, I've invested so much. Do I have to cancel everything? What's going to happen? But because of the incredible network of musicians in the Bay Area and the respect and commitment that we all have to support each other's music, within 4 hours, I had Eric Garland stepped in to play drums that night, and Tim Berkeley played the recording session on Saturday, and John Arkin played the recording session on Sunday. I'd never worked with these drummers, and it was incredible. And it was an amazing experience. And I'd never worked with two different drummers on one record, and it all just came together. So Jason is playing because really he is he's a drummer for this band, but it was awesome to work with these three different drummers.
All right. You gave such an incredible lead into the first song on the show. So I'm just going to play it now. Let's listen to Architecture in Space from Sarah Wilson's brand new album called Incandescence, and we'll talk more with her on the other side of this. That was Architecture in Space from Incandescence, which is available now. I'm talking with trumpeter and composer Sarah Wilson here on Backstage Bay Area. Sarah, can you share with our listeners how you approach your songwriting? What's the process like for you?
It's a very intuitive process, my composing process for Incandescence. I just finished last winter, I wrote music inspired by Jerry Allen. Her work in the late 80s to early 90s, mainly on Blue Note, and then also influenced by the Senegalese musician Hervé Sambé, who lives in Paris. But for that project, it was a very specific. So I live in Petaluma now, and I live near the Petaluma River, and I just would walk and listen to Jerry Allen for hours and hours. I've never done that before, where I'm really focused on, one artist in particular and just kind of soaking up her music. And it was just this really wonderful meditative thing to do, kind of like, taking a graduate course or something, absorbing it. And the music thing that came out, it resembles Jerry Allen. I mean, of course, it's my own writing, so it's not, you can't pinpoint, oh, that sounds like Jerry Allen. It's for the same brass tonic group, which is without a piano. So that's one example. And then I was absorbing, her music. And then when I was ready to start composing after maybe a month and a half, I just sit down at the piano and I just start, coming up with ideas and start layering my composition. But it's an intuitive process and it's done. I'm not composing within Sibelius as a notation program. I use Logic Pro Audio, which allows me to hear the sounds really well of the instruments, still MIDI sequence, but I'm into capturing that more live kind of feeling and what instruments are going to work together and how do I layer this. And so that's my process.
Yeah, fascinating. Well, let's go right to the title track of your album, Incandescence. What makes the song Incandescence the centerpiece of the record? Is it a melody thing, rhythm thing, or the horns light up together? How'd you make it come together on this track?
When I first started writing music, I was listening to a lot of Afro-Cuban music, and I also played in a lot of salsa bands when I lived in New York. And so there is always a tune on my record that comes from that tradition or a Caribbean tradition, or not intentionally. It just happens very naturally for me. So this song comes from that, and Mara Fox is featured on it. Mara is a heavyweight player in the, Latin jazz salsa scene in the Bay Area. And so it starts out with this trombone line, and she is so incredible. She just plays this, I knew I could get away with writing this trombone part that she would be able to carry, in a lot of part of the tunes, just execute it perfectly. So the tune is really, highlighting the dynamic between three female horn players. That was intentional for me to have women players. And the three of us, Kasey, Mara, and I, had played in Ellen Sealing's big band, she's now deceased, but the Montclair Women's Big Band. So we played in a big band together a lot. So there's echoes of that in our playing together. So I think it evokes that, and also just, those concepts of euphoria and joy and light that I was talking about earlier.
Yeah, well, I can't wait to play it. Here's the title track from Sarah Wilson's new album. This is Incandescence. You just heard Incandescence, the title track from Sarah Wilson's new album. Sarah is with us today discussing the music and her upcoming release party show in Berkeley. Sarah, you stay busy with commissions, large community projects, and collaborations. Is there anything already on the calendar for the new year? Another round of writing, more performances with Brass Tonic, or more art-inspired music?
Nothing yet, but yesterday I was rehearsing with John Schott, and as I was driving, I was thinking about wanting to delve into vocal music again, in the sense that, so on previous records, I've sang a few songs that I've written, or it's either covers, and then with Brass Tonic, I decided I want to separate these things. John and I typically get together before there's going to be a premiere of new music, and he's just so kind to get together and play with me. So we have a real duo dynamic at this point. And so he was referring to that. And so that I got kind of inspired to think about, all right, well, what if I took all of the vocal tunes from, other records I've done and do them in a duo format with John? So that could be something that happens next year. And I'll continue to keep this music inspired by Jerry Allen, which will be performing in the second set at the Back Room this Saturday, November 8th, at 8 o'clock. So people can kind of hear some of that. And I'll probably be continuing to build on that book of music next year.
All right.
So yeah,
Sounds good. I can't wait.
Thank you.
Let's talk about that album release party show for Incandescence coming up at the Back Room in Berkeley on Saturday, November 8th. You gave us a little hint of it, but what can Bay Area music fans look forward to at that show? You said there's going to be 2 sets, right?
Yeah, so we're going to play the entire album of Incandescence, and I'm thinking about not talking during that. I'm kind of curious what that would be like I might even feel out the audience beforehand, if that will be sort of deadly, or they could just be fully immersed in the album, not being interrupted with me going up to the mic. So I'm going to think about that more in the next couple of days, but we'll play the entire album, take a break, and then play some of this newer music that I wrote that actually premiered at Mr. Tipple's Jazz Club in March of this year. So we'll be playing, both of those musics. It'll be really fun. It's a nice little cozy venue.
Exactly.
Yeah. And people can find on my website, sarahwilsonmusic.com, on my gigs calendar, there's a link to it. You can also go to the Back Room's website and get tickets there, but you can go right to my website and go to the gigs page, and then you'll get a link. I also have Facebook and Instagram pages that you can find from my website, and those have links to get tickets as well.
All right. Well, let me remind our listeners that Sarah Wilson will be having an album release party show for Incandescence at the Back Room in Berkeley on Saturday, November 8th. Showtime is 8 p.m. and doors open 30 minutes before the show, so get there early. Tickets are available now online at backroommusic.com. And as Sarah mentioned, you can find more information about her music on her website, sarahwilsonmusic.com. Before I let you go, is there anything else you'd like to add?
No, it's so great to be on your program here and to connect with people. It's really wonderful, and very grateful for the opportunity to talk about my music.
All right, Sarah. Thanks for spending time with us today and for sharing the new music.
Great. Thanks so much.
Backstage Bay Area will be right back.
Hey musicians, would you like to be a guest on Backstage Bay Area? Just email the host and let him know when you'll be playing in the Bay Area. The address is backstage.sfbay@gmail.com. Now, let's get back to the show.
This has been Backstage Bay Area, your all-access pass to the local jazz scene. I'm Steve Roby. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you at the show.
Free audio post-production by alphonic.com.